We got work to do.
Welcome to Highway to Hell, a supernatural podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Kristen.
And today we're talking about Season 5, Episode 19, Hammer of the Gods. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, yay! Oh my god, this episode, man. It's
It
so
was
good.
great. It was great. And for those who don't recall which episode this one is, I did the IMDb description this time. Sam and Dean are kidnapped by a group of gods, including Kali, Ganesh, and Balder, and held hostage in a small hotel. The gods want to use Sam and Dean as bargaining chips to stop the apocalypse, but Gabriel shows up and warns them that if Lucifer finds them, he will kill them all. Unfortunately, one of the gods turns on the rest, and Lucifer appears. Yeah. No, I feel like the end isn't really accurate, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's not. I was like, wait, what? Did I miss something?
And that was the one that actually came out from CW. It was like the CW press
What the
thing.
fuck?
I don't know. Did you watch the episode?
Yeah, they're just going off of what they think the episode's about.
But yeah, all the different gods were really awesome. I loved that concept. And I love Richard Speight, and he was all up in this episode.
Yeah. And oh God, I of course mentioned several times that this is like one of my favorite episodes. And I just remember the first time watching it and just being like, wow, like just thoroughly impressed with Supernatural as a TV show that they were, they were going here, because I just thought it was so smart that they're not only saying like, oh yeah, angels are real and God is real, but like they're fucking assholes. This whole idea of Christianity kind of flipped in the perspective. But also there are all these other religions and gods that are real as well. And we're just not really they've been they also see like Christianity as the asshole, basically.
Yeah, I was really surprised. There's this like one kind of speech from Kali where she goes off about Westerners and how they're so arrogant and they weren't the first, and there are millions of us. And it's so true. Christianity is not the only religion. There are millions and millions of followers of other religions on the planet.
Yeah.
And they're not to be ignored. So that was pretty insightful, I thought, too.
I also think it was smart on Supernatural's end, where we had seen all of these other like early on episodes that had these Monster of the week, and we had I feel like we had several that were um based off of a certain religion, like the genie, for example. I think that was
Yeah.
supposed to come from and I'm forgetting, but like either Indian or like another um you know Eastern religion, philosophy. And so it's smart for them to say, actually, those do exist. We're not, saying, oh, all of a sudden that all of that's fake, or all of that's, you know, is I don't know. You
Right.
should
It's
see it
not
in a different
applicable or whatever.
light. Right, because now we're doing this whole Christianity thing. It's like, no, it's paying homage to the fact that, yeah, those monsters of the week do exist, but so does angels and gods and all of this.
Yeah, for sure. The only other thing I kind of wanted to note that was really interesting about this is this episode aired April 22nd of 2010. So right about the same time of year that we're in right now, just 10 years ago. And we just passed the 10-year anniversary of this episode. And at the end, you and I caught this, but we'll probably talk about it more. They have to go after one of the four horsemen, Pestilence, and it's all about sickness, and it's just it hits a little too close to home right now with this COVID-19 situation.
Mm-hmm.
And after watching this episode, Netflix brought up a picture of, it does like a preview kind of image of the next episode. And it's this image of Sam and Dean in masks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is so apt. It's so like relevant right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just weird timing. It's very weird timing. And I actually took a picture of that. So I might post it on our Twitter or something and be like, guys, really? Is
Yeah,
this
we're
for real?
living these times. It's so funny because I thought about this, I obviously I knew that pestilence was coming along, and I thought about it a few weeks ago when quarantine had already happened, and I thought, oh God, that's gonna be kind of weird because, and the next episode we see more of pestilence and we see more of I think of what we saw at the end. And I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a little too on the nose. But just seeing it here and seeing it just how well, yeah, I mean we're gonna get there, but like you said, but it was just disturbing.
Oh,
It
it
was hard to
is.
watch.
Yeah, it's just a lot.
Well, and then on a side note, like I've been uh listening to new podcasts and discovering new podcasts and stuff. And I could say like one actually several of them I've heard like some of the podcast guests like coughing and or like they're sick or and also like making jokes like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get you sick, I'm sorry, and like that sort of thing. And it's like, oh my God, it's so weird. It's like that
Mm.
is gonna be completely different from now on, I feel.
It just
I
feels
don't
like
know.
it's seeping into everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of
It
those
really does
things,
affect
those universe
everything.
things. What do we call that? That just happened again recently with
I don't
another
know.
thing.
I don't know. It's not a cruel irony, but it's something else. Cause yeah, there was just when the universe works in mysterious and weird ways, like I was telling Kristen too, another weird thing with this episode is that, they talk about all the gods, and one of them is Mercury. And I
Mhm.
started a new book, and just completely random, there's one paragraph that talks about the god Mercury. And I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
why does that come up? Why is that even a thing?
Yeah, I feel like that would always happen to me where it's like I remember we read The Scarlet Letter in high school and then I went home and for the next week HBO was playing like The Scarlet Letter with Demi Moore. Or that's
So
The
weird.
Crucible. But
Oh,
but yeah, it was The
I never
Crucible. We
saw the
read The
Scarlet Letter.
Crucible at the same time as The Scarlet Letter, I think, because they speak to each other kind of. But but yeah, stuff like that. I'm sure there's like a German word for that.
Yeah, there's gotta be. Um, I'm gonna look that up later and see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to mention before we get started, but that's all I had to chat about.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I just did notice off of the wiki that Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, the two the writing team behind works that we hated and they're slowly coming around. They're starting to write hits. This is a hit.
Yes, just
Um
recently. And I
yeah.
forgot to mention the people who actually worked on this episode. So yeah, they were the main writers. It said the story was by David Reed, which was interesting. So I guess someone
Mhm.
else wrote the story and they just wrote it out. And it was directed by Rick Boda, and I meant to look him up because I'm not familiar. That's the only episode he ever did.
Yeah, I looked him up and the only things that stood out for me is he worked on 162 wait, just JK. He worked on The Vampire Diaries and I thought it said that he worked on 162 episodes, but the episode is titled 162 Candles. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
um yeah, he hasn't really like he's one of those directors that bounces around, it looks like.
Yeah.
Um and then
Although
he
something that's notable is that we just started I have never seen the Lethal Weapon series of movies, and we just started
oh
watching those, so I'm definitely going to get to Lethal Weapon 4, which he directed. So I'll be watching that at some point.
well, he didn't direct it. He worked in the camera and electrical department.
Oh, okay, okay. So maybe some of the
Um
cinematography and some of that.
Yeah, and so the other thing that I noticed that I recognize, his work is he was a cinematographer for the 1999 House on Haunted Hill,
Mhm.
which I think I've spoken about on this podcast.
Maybe.
It's one of those like horror, like so 90s horror movies that came out, and I used to be obsessed with this movie. I would watch it over and over again with my cousins, and it wasn't like the greatest thing ever, and it's still not the greatest thing ever, but it's just, it's one of those things from my childhood that I remember fondly.
Yeah, nostalgic.
Mhm. Yeah.
Nice. That's good to know. Thanks, Rick Boda. Okay, so we can just go ahead and get started then. The then segment shows us a lot of really interesting things to come. We have the trickster. Um, there's the flashback to changing channels when he's telling both Sam and Dean that they have to play their roles. Then we get flashbacks to when he was revealed to be the Archangel Gabriel. And then there's a segment where Dean is telling Gabriel, he's like yelling at him about this whole thing being not about him, uh, just like the angels being dicks, but it's about him being too afraid to stand up to his own family. Um, then we get a flashback of Dean killing Zachariah and then telling Sam that they can do this whole thing their own way. He's like, screw everybody else and their rules in the game they want to play. We'll do this our way and kill Lucifer. So now Sam and Dean are on the same page. It's totally cool. I feel like Dean's back.
Yeah. Dean's got hope
Yes, for
finally.
once.
Mhm.
Totally. So the episode opens in Muncie, Indiana, and there's an abandoned, rundown hotel. It's kind of like between a motel and a hotel, but it's bigger than your normal motel and seemed like it used to be nicer. But it's in terrible shape. The sign's torn down. It's a complete wreck. It looks like a tornado hit it, and it's just old. So this car pulls up, and a man in a security uniform is going around and checking the abandoned hotel with a flashlight and calling around for somebody. And as he walks through the ruins, um, this dead plant comes back to life, and this broken mirror repairs itself. And he passes the sign in the lobby. And I wanted to mention that this hotel is called the Elysian Fields Hotel. And Elysian Fields is a reference to it's a conception, this is from Wikipedia, of the afterlife that developed over time and was maintained by some Greek and religious and philosophical sects and cults. Initially separate from the realm of Hades, admission was reserved for mortals related to the gods and other heroes, but later it expanded to include those chosen by the gods. So it was
Mm.
for the righteous and the heroic, where they would go after death to be blessed and live a happy life. So
Oh,
the
wow.
Elysian Fields is this basically concept of heaven for heroes chosen by the gods.
So interesting, because I did wonder what's so special about this hotel? Like, why did the gods just like say, "Oh, you know what? This is a good place in the middle of nowhere to meet."
Mhm.
But I did
I
they
don't
choose?
know. I don't
I
know
don't
if it
know.
like I mean, I guess it existed before because it was there and all run down and they just fixed it up. But like why was it already named that?
You know what? Was it already named that when it was like
Yeah,
run
cuz when it
down?
was yeah.
Oh, weird. Because on the Supernatural Wiki, so I selected Elysian Fields Hotel. They had a link to its own page, and it says Mercury reconstructed a decimated hotel, effectively resulting in the creation of Elysian Fields Hotel.
Yeah. I mean, that still makes sense though, but when he was walking through and it was all torn up, the sign still said that.
Interesting. Okay.
I know. So I don't know. I guess was it just already called that? Some just randomly?
Yeah, that I don't know, that's odd. Um but I love the concept. I mean, it just makes me think like is this another place like the Beautiful Room? You know, it's like
Mhm.
it's got its own portal or whatever
Yeah, now
on
it's like
Earth.
this fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? In between heaven and hell starts with a P.
Uh um ugh.
God damn it.
In between heaven and hell is called people have googled this before. Don't worry. Limbo, purgatory.
Purgatory. It's okay. We weren't English majors or anything.
Yeah, we didn't
Um,
just read Dante's Inferno.
yeah, no. I wasn't just rearranging my school books. I was. It's
Also,
just out
should
of
you
it
tell
today.
the listeners where you're sitting right now?
Oh, I'm in a closet. And sort of fittingly, I'm under a Harry Potter sheet. So this feels appropriate. But yeah, I decided to try out like a smaller space with like a blanket over to my head so I would get better sound and it wouldn't be so echoey. So we'll see how this one sounds. I like my little cave
Yeah, so far you sound
so
great.
far. Oh good. But yes, I am definitely sitting in a closet. It's a little cramped, but that's okay. We're making it work.
I
So
just imagine your books in there with you and like just a bunch of junk that you have.
I'm just surrounded by crap in the closet.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Okay, so the security guard is going through the hotel, and then this man in uniform suddenly appears behind him, and he tells the security guard, he's like, "Oh, well, we don't have any time. We have to get ready." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "We all have our roles to play, and your dinner." And he kills the security guard. Blood splatters behind him on the wall. It's super gross.
Yeah. So, okay,
Whoops.
just, kind of your usual opening or whatever.
Yeah, somebody dying in some mysterious way.
Mhm.
Although I loved the special effects, like on the plant coming back to life. That was so cool. I felt like their budget
Mm.
on this episode was really, they had a high budget.
Yeah, I mean because we had some like cool stuff later on, right? Some like
Hell
fire
yeah.
and fighting. There was some fighting going on. It was crazy.
Yeah, man. Some fucking fire powers.
Mhm.
Um, so Sam and Dean pull up in the Impala to the hotel, and it's completely repaired and brightly lit, looks super fancy. Like they got lucky with this hotel. And they go inside and it's really, really nice inside. And they're both kind of like, oh, okay, we got some nice digs for once. And while they're checking in, the man behind the counter is the same man who killed the security guard. And he points out that Dean nicked himself while shaving. He's like, oh, looks like you got a little shaving nick there. And he's bleeding a little bit. And so he gives him a tissue and Dean kind of dabs it off. Um,
Yeah, he's
then he
kind of
asks him,
surprised by it.
yeah, he didn't even notice.
I was confused about that though because I thought it just was that they had just come from the beautiful room. That's what I thought that was. But of course, we find out later it's something different.
Right. So then Dean asks if there's a coffee bar, and the guy's like, "Oh, there's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and there's the best pie in the tri-state area." And we're starting to feel like this is a little too good to be true. But Dean's all about it. He's like, you don't say.
Yeah, I'm all
So
for some
they,
pie.
I can't blame him, you know? So they go into the dining room, and Dean gets his pie and walks past this really beautiful woman who's sitting by herself. And he starts to hit on her, and she's just like, no, and just shuts him down. And he's kind of embarrassed, and he's like, okay, well, I was just trying to. She's like, yeah, I know, but no. And so he's like, oh, okay, gonna go eat my pie. So he walks away and sits with Sam. And Sam's trying to convince him that something's fishy. You know, all of this is a little too nice, too good to be true. But then Dean gives him this pep talk. He's like, you know, how much have you slept this week? Hardly at all. Just take the night off. You know, we're going to do this. We're definitely still trying to kill Lucifer. You know, don't worry about that. But you're no good to me if you're burnt out, which is really true and sweet. And I appreciated that Dean's coming at it from that perspective right now.
Mm.
So then we follow this server who's walking through the dining room, and she walks into the kitchen, and then the camera goes into the kitchen, and we see a severed hand on the counter in the kitchen. That's a
It
good
was so
sign.
gross.
So on the way to their room, Sam and Dean see this couple like hardcore making out outside their door that's next to theirs. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they go inside the room, and and Dean's checking it out. It's like really pretty inside. There's chocolates on the pillows. And then he picks up this like pamphlet on the table, and he's like, look, Casa Erotica 13 on demand.
Which we had been introduced to Casa Erotica already, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
another a follow-up to that. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam's like, okay. And so then they hear the couple next door, and it sounds like they're having sex. But then suddenly something hits the wall that they're sharing really hard. There's like two thuds, and it like breaks the wall.
Yeah. Ugh.
I
I mean,
know.
it's kind of comically, hard. I mean,
Hmm.
not like in a funny way, but just like it's over the top is what I mean.
Yeah, it's
Um
extreme.
yeah, it's definitely not like scary movie esque because it almost reminded me of like Joyride, which is a movie I know I've recommended before to you. And that's exactly what happens is they're in a motel room and they're listening to what's going on next door. And there's a longer story with that, but like they hear all of a sudden a loud thump and then like arguing stops and it's like, uh-oh, like
Ooh. Yeah, that's not
killed
good.
that person.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
But this is like, no, the fucking entire brick wall is like breaking. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the TV is like about to come off the wall. So they run out of the room and to the room next door to see if they can help and what's going on. But they go inside the room and there's nobody there. It looks like there's been kind of a scuffle, but there's no one inside the room. And then Dean looks down and picks up an engagement ring that was on the rug. So they go to the front desk and ask that same man about the couple. And he's like, oh, they just checked out. Right now.
That's no, what?
They're like, what? But what? We just saw them. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. They just checked out. And Dean's like, well, it's kind of hard to check out without this. And he holds up the ring and he's like, oh, thank you so much. Let me put that in the lost and found. Is there anything else I can do for you? And they're both like, no, but they're thoroughly creeped out.
Yeah, and he's not very slick. He's not very good at like playing, a human or or even like trying to cover anything up, which
Yeah,
we
no.
find out a
He's
little
just
bit
like,
later.
yeah, it's weird, problem.
Yeah. But for him to be, yeah, he sounds like he's lying like right away. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, totally. I did like that actor, though. I thought he did a good job playing Mercury.
Mhm.
Um, so they leave the front desk, um, and okay, so they decide to like kind of tail this guy because he's clearly very creepy. So Sam goes by himself and tails him, and he follows him around a corner. And as soon as he turns the corner, the man is gone. But that's not possible. Like he definitely should still have seen him. And so Sam's confused and looks around, and then suddenly he reacts like he felt something on his neck, and there's a tiny little cut on his neck.
Mm.
Then we go to Dean, and he's got the EMF reader out, and he's walking down a hall of rooms, just checking it out. And he passes a room with the door open, and there's an elephant in the room. Like literally a full blown elephant. And he passes by and
It's
then
like a glimpse,
stops
yeah.
and turns around. And there's just a large black man in a towel saying, "Hey, this ain't no peep show, man," and like closes the door in his face.
Oh my god.
He's like, Dean's face is like, what the fuck did I just see? So then we see the woman from the dining room who Dean was hitting on, and she's in her room with this other man, and he's like kissing her. And then the guy from the front desk walks in, and he tells them that everything is ready. He says the pantry's full and the Winchesters are suspicious but under control. And then he gives the woman 2 vials that have samples of Sam and Dean's blood that he stole from them, from the little cuts in their neck.
Mhm.
Sneaky, sneaky. Um, so then we cut back to Sam and Dean, and they walk into the lobby, and nobody is there. Everyone is gone, and they're like, okay, this is really weird. And so Sam walks over to the front doors, and Dean's like, let me guess. And he checks the doors, and they're locked. So they start walking around, and they go into the kitchen, and they pass this like red soup that's boiling on the stove. And Dean's like, please be tomato soup. Please be tomato soup. And he pulls the spoon up, and there's 2 eyeballs. And they're both like, oh, God.
I really loved that. I
It was
I was
great.
I was really expecting it to be like the severed hand or something like that, but for it to be eyeballs, I thought was just so
And
good.
they kind of roll around.
Yeah. Yeah. It was again, it was like over the top, right?
Totally.
It was kind of comical.
Yeah, totally over the top, but it was great. I
Mhm.
really enjoyed that. They're just like, oh God, okay. So then they go over to the walk-in freezer, and Sam's just kind of looking into the window, and suddenly a man goes up to the window, and he's like, let me out. And they see that everyone who was in the hotel with them is trapped in the walk-in freezer. And they're trying to let them out and break the lock, but then they're caught by 2 men in suits who grab them and lead them into this conference room. And they start looking around, and everyone around the table has a name tag on, which is really funny. It's like a mixer or something.
Uh-huh.
Um, but on their name tags are names of gods like Ganesh and Odin, Kali, and Baron Samdi, which I had to look up. Um, so Baron Samedi is one of the Loa of Haitian voodoo, and the Loa are um, spirits of the Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo. And Samedi is noted for disruption, obscenity, debauchery, and having a particular fondness for tobacco and rum.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I thought he was
Uh,
somebody else of the voodoo, also of like the voodoo religion. Oh god, but maybe it is like Baron Samedi, like you said.
well, that was
Um
on his name tag.
no, yeah, yeah, but like I'm trying to think of like the other name. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. I need to look for it.
Oh, I don't know.
But so cool. And during this part though, and this is what I was like really in general, I was kind of really impressed with the directing. I thought it was like a very interesting way, especially in this part of introducing the different gods, because like we see their name tags, which is so cute. Because yeah, it is kind of like a little conference, like just a regular work conference. But
Yeah.
then like whenever we see like the camera go to each individual god, and then it like flashes to their name, and then flashes to like a book with like
Right.
what their what their godly figure really looks like. And
Like things
it
about them.
yeah, yeah. And it was just such a great way of introducing all of these different gods really quickly. You know, we didn't like waste time with like, oh, and here is Ganesh and here is Baron Samdi, and like, you know, it's like none of that. It's just,
Right.
here are these people, you've heard of them more than likely, and you just know who they are and what they stand for right away.
Yep. And it's like, yes, I know his name tag says Odin. This really is Odin.
Yeah.
He's not just saying that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I liked that too. Um and so Sam and Dean are kind of taking it in and they're like, holy shit. And then the man from the front desk comes in and he's wheeling in this platter with a thing over it to hide what the food is. And he says the dinner is served. And he opens it to reveal a man's head on a platter, which is so disgusting.
It was really graphic. It was
Super graphic.
and not just that, but like it's not just his head on a platter, but like they had added the effect to show that uh, his head had been baked or something, because like the
Yes.
skin was like bubbled. Oh, it was so
Oh.
gross.
And he's got this expression on his face. It's like so like, I don't know. It's like leaning over to the side. It's almost like his tongue is sticking out. Like, oh.
Yeah. Oh my god, it was so disgusting. Okay, I looked it up. I was thinking of Papa Legba
Oh,
because
I don't know that
he's
one.
another voodoo god. Uh well, I don't know if he's similar to um Baron,
Yeah, I
but
wonder if is he another Loa?
he is. It says here that he's another Loa, but he's specifically regarding spiritual crossroads and gives or denies permission to speak with the spirits.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I've seen him in like I think like different shows and stuff like that, different representations of him. But so I was thinking it was that guy, but no,
Yeah,
it's different.
that's cool. There are apparently like I don't really know much about voodoo gods, but there are apparently a lot of different Loa. Um, so I'm probably going to be reading about that more just because it's really interesting.
Me too. I already like texted myself the link to like read all about it tonight instead of sleeping.
Okay, send me that link. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so the guy who was kissing on the woman that Dean hit on, we find out that he's the god Balder. And so he stands up and starts talking to all the gods in the conference room. Also, I had to kind of look up who Balder was because I'm not really familiar with that god.
I'm
But
not familiar with Balder. Yeah.
yeah, so he's a god in Norse mythology. He's a son of Odin and the goddess Frigg, and he has numerous brothers, including Thor and Vali. And apparently, like the more I read about Balder, he was like the most loved, and everybody just fucking loved Balder. And they described him like very favorably in every instance, and I don't know, they fucking love Balder. Um, so did you have a question or something?
I have a thought.
Yes.
So Loki. Everyone thinks that Gabriel's Loki.
Dude, we got to talk about this. I have a lot of questions.
Me too.
Okay, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say? But I was. wanting to talk about that too.
So I was gonna say, okay, Balder is the son of Odin, and I'm feeling like uninformed, and this may just be my understanding of like mythology per Marvel, but
Right.
isn't Loki the son of Odin also?
I yes. Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, I thought so too. So, in this supernatural world, I'm very confused about the origin of Loki because how can Loki be Gabriel if Gabriel was an angel? Like, did he literally just show up one day and was like, I'm Loki? Like he had to have
Yeah,
come from somewhere in their history for them to accept him as Loki.
right. And I yeah, that's another thing. So like I guess watching this over again, I thought, "Oh, okay, so at some point or very early on, he decided I'm not dealing with this fucking Christianity thing anymore. Went under the quote unquote witness protection program and then just started calling himself Loki and then started like acting with Norse mythology or whatever, but then also like changed his identity again later on and just became the trickster.
Mhm.
Or Loki is a trickster, I guess. So
Right,
that
but he's I guess it's still different to call yourself the trickster instead of Loki.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. What is his deal? I want to know.
I don't know. Well, and then I'm seeing here that in some sources he's the son of Farbati and Laufey, which are
Oh.
some other people.
Well, and that's what I was going to
But
say in Marvel too because he's not actually Odin's son, he's like adopted because he's Luffy's son. He's rescued from that
that's
war.
true.
But still he rescued him as a baby.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on like which which one you're kind of looking at. And obviously this was before Marvel or around the time that Marvel was starting, but before Thor. But it's just interesting to me that Balder was like, "What? Loki is Gabriel?" Because I was like, "Oh, wouldn't he know? Wouldn't he like know Loki really well if they're like brothers or whatever?" I don't
I
know.
just feel like how did he become Loki?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Because he was already Gabriel. So how did he infiltrate the gods and pass himself off as Loki?
Yeah, that's I would love if we got more info on that because if we know if what we know about Loki's true, right? That Loki was well, I guess true according to Marvel. That Loki
This is
is
fact.
like yeah, is like the adopted son of Odin or whatever. Is like it came from somewhere else, from some mysterious place. It would kind of make sense then that Gabriel, slipped into this family and just started calling himself Loki, and they just took him as that in some way.
I
I don't
guess,
know.
but that doesn't really answer it for me because wouldn't Odin question that? Like, hey, where did this son come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
He can't just show up and be like, yo, I'm your brother.
Yeah, I don't know. That is really confusing.
I mean, he is a trickster, so maybe he tricked them somehow.
Mhm.
But I want to know how.
Me too.
But it's pretty awesome too. Like he's now kind of like my favorite character because he's all of these things and they're all badass. And it's like, how are you?
Yeah.
So many awesome gods and angels at once.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I had a lot of questions about that as we were going along, but it's pretty sweet. So Balder. Okay, yeah. So he's talking to all the gods in this conference room. And while he's talking, Sam and Dean are realizing how fucking screwed they are. Because he's telling them about how the Judeo-Christian apocalypse is happening, and this is their chance. This is their chance to take over and finally, you know, be what they've always wanted to be and be in charge. And Sam and Dean are like, oh shit, what have we stepped in? Um, and
Yeah, like
then,
they're terrified at this point. They're like
yeah,
so scared of being surrounded by literal gods.
I don't blame them. That would be terrifying. I'd be like, don't
Mhm.
make any sudden movements.
Yeah.
And then Balder says that they have some bargaining chips. They have something to bargain with for the angels because they have Michael and Lucifer's vessels. And he gestures to Sam and Dean, and they're like, "Oh, okay, great, shit." So then, as far as a plan, the gods start talking about it, and they start arguing. And while they're arguing, Sam and Dean slowly get up and try to sneak out. But then this chandelier falls right in front of them. And the woman from the dining room stands up, and she is the god Kali. And she's the one who dropped the chandelier, and she tells them to stop. And she starts looking at everybody and saying that, look, the only way to win this is by fighting the angels. There has to be violence. That's the only way that we can get through this and get what we want. And then the man who was from the front desk has a name tag and it says Mercury. So he's the god Mercury. And he just kind of says very nicely, have we thought about just talking to them? And then Kali like force chokes him.
Mhm. Yeah, she's like, "Shut the fuck up. I was talking right now."
Yeah.
It is interesting that Kali is kind of the leader in this group of gods, you know, like um
Yeah. How did that
that
happen?
she has yeah, that she has taken upon herself to be the strongest one. And I know that I think it's like Odin and someone else are arguing like, oh, we're the Otis religion or something like that. But is it Odin and Kali that argue that?
I don't know. That's a good question. Odin does seem like he's kind of taking uh I don't know, like kind of the reins on this because he starts talking about his religion and like, okay, we know it's not really the apocalypse because this would happen in my religion if it were the apocalypse. And then he starts arguing with one of the other gods about their religion. And so I don't know. They all just
Yeah, I
think
guess I just
theirs are the best and what's right.
yeah. Yeah, but I guess I just thought maybe like because I thought it was her that she was like, well, I'm the Otis religion, and so I should be the one to lead us, basically.
Maybe. I don't remember her saying that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
that could be if I missed it.
Yeah.
I know that in her speech toward the end, she was kind of talking about, with all the Westerners and how there are millions of us. She was just kind of talking about all of the other religions as a whole. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I don't know. Um, so Mercury survives. She decides to stop force choking him. Um, and she's like, "Did I ask you?" She's really sassy. So suddenly, the doors fly open and Gabriel walks in. And Dean says, "Gabe." And as he's about to say his name, he like silences him with his powers. And then Balder calls him Loki. And we're like, "Oh, okay, so you're Loki now."
Yeah, because we
Um,
had never heard that before, right?
uh-uh.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first
That's what I
time.
was thinking.
Um, so then Gabriel slash Loki magics Sam and Dean back to their hotel room, and they both freak out. They're like, what just happened?
Yeah, what are we gonna do now? Basically.
Yeah. Um, and then after like 30 seconds or so, Gabriel shows up in their room and he tells them that he's there to save them. And Dean's like, what? Why do you care? And he's like, I don't care. It's like really unconvincing. But he says that he and Kali used to have a thing and that he's sentimental. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was really fascinating because we have already kind of seen some like romantic stuff going on between like angels, right? I guess we kind of got the sense that like maybe Cass and Anna had this like history or whatever,
Hmm.
but like that they can have that sort of feelings. But I think it's like fascinating to see these gods kind of like live this through just because we know from like Greek mythology, for example, like oh Zeus is just like fucking everyone basically.
Yeah.
And like Odin, I think Odin is like the same, so it's like really fascinating to see the romantic
And that's so
relationships.
different from Christian angels and gods. Like, that's not part of it at all. Like, they've even said, like, the
Hmm.
angels, like, as an angel working for God, you don't have those urges. Like, you don't have any of, like, the emotions or anything that humans have.
Right, yeah.
So, I guess Gabriel was like, fuck all this. I'm going to go have fun with the other gods who know what's up.
And yeah, that kind of makes sense with him acting as like this Dionysus type figure. You know, he is giving into those urges,
Yeah, totally.
whether they be food or candy or like sex.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess he and Collie used to have a thing. Um, and he tells Sam and Dean that he can't magic them away from the hotel. He can't just get them out of there because Collie did a blood spell with the blood that was stolen from them, and she has them on a leash. So Dean wants to free everyone, all of the civilians who were in the freezer, and Gabriel tells him no. But then Dean threatens to tell all of the gods who he really is if he doesn't help them free all the people in the freezer. And that was kind of interesting because he's like, um, no, I'll just, silence you again. And he's like, well, then I'll write it down. Dean comes back at him and he's like, then I'll cut off your hands. And he's like, but then everyone's going to run around saying, why don't they have any hands?
Yeah.
And Gabriel's like, okay, God damn it. Fine. So,
Yeah, I don't know why he's so afraid of like revealing his identity.
because they hate angels, right?
Oh, is that just why?
Yeah. I think so. Like
Oh,
they're because
okay,
they're gonna
okay.
fight the angels.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I think I was just thinking of it a little bit more complicated. Like he thought that like they would be mad at him for lying for so
Oh yeah,
long,
well probably that
perhaps.
too. I mean, I'm sure Kali would be pissed, for that reason, but also because he's a filthy angel.
Yeah, she thought she was banging a god at least.
Yeah, that's a
He's just an
bummer.
archangel.
Such bullshit. Um, so let's see. So then we cut to Gabriel. He just magics himself into Kali's room. And she's undressing, but he shows up and turns the lights off and makes this like pretty romantic dinner appear, and he's holding a rose. And he tries convincing her, he tries really hard to convince her not to fight the angels, but she just digs her heels in and refuses, and says that she has to. And so then he asks really cutely, like, "Do you still love me?" And she's like, "No." But then she grabs him and starts kissing him.
Oh my god, it's so sweet.
It was cute.
It was definitely making me feel like shipping vibes, and I wanted to see more.
Same. Yeah, I'd be into that. So then we cut to Sam and Dean, and they're trying to break all the civilians out of the freezer, but they're caught again. And they start fighting one of the gods, and they totally kill him.
Yeah.
Like they spear him, and he dies. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and then they also like right before that, I just thought it was an interesting part where right before that they see this like man die and they can't do anything to save him. And it just goes back to our other conversation about like them not trying to save every single soul anymore.
mm-hmm.
You know, which understandable, of course, but like it's just interesting to see that change in the TV show. Like they definitely before would have, I think, tried to intervene even if it meant getting caught, you know. Although yeah,
Yes.
they were caught after that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a tough moment for them because they obviously wanted to try to save him, and then they were like, "No, we can't because these gods are gonna kill us."
Mhm. Yeah.
It was shitty.
Mm,
So then so cut back to Gabriel with Collie, and they're making out, and Gabriel's trying to very sneakily get the 2 vials of Sam and Dean's blood. But, then suddenly he feels something on his neck, and they stop kissing, and she's basically like, "Do you think I'm stupid?" Um, she says, "I know that you're Gabriel, and now you're bound to me forever." So that's a bummer. Um,
yeah.
and then we get this Ghostfacers commercial.
Oh my god. That
So
was
great.
the most insane thing. I I didn't even remember that that had happened. It's great. It's so odd though too because it's like supposed to be like a commercial for the TV show Ghostfacers, right? Like a web
Yeah.
series, I guess.
Yeah.
And I assume I actually think I think I've read that they were doing actual web series of Ghostfacers, you know, during this time, like in real life.
That's awesome. I wanna see
I
them.
know. Yeah, we should watch some of them and talk about them one day.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just thought it was so funny that like the commercial is like this girl Amber getting this like intern position and like just learning the job basically.
Yeah. She just walks in, she's, like, real cute and blonde, and she's just like, "Hi, is the intern position still open?" And they're like, "You're hired."
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really
Um
funny. And I went to it just said cwtv.com, and it's not up on that website anymore, so maybe they're up on YouTube or
oh
something.
no. Yeah, we'll have to hunt them down.
Yeah,
Um
I'm down.
um on another note, I had wanted to just touch on or like I just had a brief thought about Kali and her ability to like take over Gabriel in that moment.
Mhm,
Um I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting that that is a power that she has, right? So Mercury was able to obtain Sam and Dean's blood, and that's how she was able to bind them there. And now she's able to do the same with Gabriel.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know. I just wanted to pay attention to that or just like mention it, just because it's, it's just a weird power that she might have.
Right. Yeah, because Gabriel had said it was a blood spell.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I did kind of wonder if that was something that is specific to her or if it's, like, just a known blood spell that she's using.
Yeah, I'm like trying to look into her to see if like she's known for doing blood spells or something like that. I mean, she's pretty fucking badass. She
Yeah.
has like a garland of human heads that she wears, which is
Isn't she
pretty
a god of
cool.
war? Is it just straight up like war?
Oh, that's a great question. She's a destroyer of evil forces,
Oh, damn.
it says. So take that, which is really fascinating, right? That we're seeing her here wanting to kill Satan,
Mm-hmm.
and like this is her way of doing it, basically, you know? I mean, she's not wanting to do a bad thing, right? Like we're on the same side.
Yeah, totally.
Um but it's just the way that she's going about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's not fucking around. Um, that's a cool god. I want to read about that one too.
I know. Very cool.
So then we go back to the conference room, and Sam and Dean are tied up, and Kali goes over to Gabriel and takes his angel sword, and he's like, "Look, I'm a runaway, and I'm trying to save you. Basically, you can't beat Lucifer." And that's when she goes into her whole speech about how Westerners are so arrogant. Christianity isn't the only religion, and he's not the only God. Which is really interesting too, because I can't help but wonder, like in the hierarchy of like how omnipotent, these gods are, because like the Christian God that we've been dealing with so far in these episodes, like it seems like he's just so far removed from everything because, right, he has like control
Yeah.
over everything.
Yeah.
Um, but these gods here, it's almost like they have control over less, or like a smaller kind of realm.
Mhm.
So like, no, he's not the only god, but is he able to control more than they are? Like, does he have more power than they do?
Yeah, I've never really been able to answer that, after watching this episode, however many times I've seen it, because it's true where we've definitely heard, I feel like, reference to the fact that the Christian God is omnipotent and has created the world, right? So like Cass, I think, has spoken about how early it was in the Earth's creation that things have happened, and it definitely made it seem as if, okay, yeah, God was the one, the Christian God was the one that created it. So where does Kali and Odin and these other gods, where do they come into play? It
Right.
doesn't really answer that for us. Or it doesn't even say outright that like what we've been learning according to Christianity is a lie.
Hmm.
um I think that would have been interesting, where if they would have said, you know like maybe all the gods created the world together, in a
Ooh,
sense,
yeah.
because I kind of imagine like this this like work conference happening with the Christian God in the past, like where he was an attendee, and maybe they meet up like every
Oh,
now and then
interesting.
and talk about the world, kind of like oh god, is it the count, like that council from the Santa Claus 2 or 3 or something, where it's like Santa Claus with the Easter bunny and like like all of these,
I never watched the
like,
sequels.
oh god, don't. But I think that's what they show, right? It's kind of like that, where they're just like a council of gods or something, and they run the world together.
Right.
Um, that's what I kind of imagined. But then where does heaven fall into that, and hell, which we have seen exist?
Right.
Um, does that mean then that, oof, and I'm forgetting what's like the Indian realm heaven?
Oh,
Um,
I don't recall.
I think there's a name for it, but I don't know. So like But they believe in like their own form of heaven or something like that. So what does that mean? That there might be
And does that
that
exist
other.
separately? Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I don't
And
know,
I'm
man.
sorry, I should just correct myself. I Indian is such a vague way. There's like multiple religions in India. I meant specific like Hindu.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
um
look into some of that. But yeah, I had thought about that too because yeah, we definitely know that they have like different variations on the afterlife and things like that. So yeah, do those also exist somewhere else?
mhm.
Is it all the same afterlife and we just see it differently? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
So, yeah, Kali goes off about all of that. And then she gets really close to Gabriel with the angel sword and she looks upset and she says she's sorry and she stabs him with the angel blade. And he does the angel dying thing where light shoots out of his eyes and his mouth and it looks like he kind of implodes from the inside. Um, so thinking that he's dead, Dean gets up and he's just kind of like making this up as he goes along. But he says that even though he would love to kill all of them, you big bunch of dicks, he's going to help them instead and help them kill Lucifer. And Sam's looking at him like, "What are you doing?" His faces were
Yeah.
so funny.
And I think one of the first like references that I ever saw to Supernatural before I actually watched the show was on Tumblr and seeing a GIF with some caption that said like I don't know, it was something like how could you, or like the only show on television that like would say this, and it was that quote like you big bunch of a bag of dicks or whatever he calls them.
And then we cut to Sam and he's like rolling his eyes back into his head, like, "Oh dear God, please save us." It's so funny. So he bargains with all the gods and says that they have to let all the people in the freezer go, but that he's going to help them kill Lucifer. And so they agree. We see him at the front of the hotel. I don't know why they let him do it. Um, and why they wouldn't just do it themselves. But Dean is the
Yeah.
one who's like got the front door open and he's letting all the people out and they're like running to their cars and leaving. And then he hears someone whisper his name and he turns to the Impala and there's somebody whispering to him from the backseat of the Impala. And he's like, "It's me, Gabriel. Look natural. Don't look at me."
Oh my god,
So
he's so dumb.
I know, it's hilarious. So Dean gets in the Impala and he's like, "Act natural? This is so weird. I thought you were dead." Um, and so Gabriel tells him that the angel blade was a fake. He's like, "You think I'd give Kali the real sword? That could kill me."
So it was a trick.
So
It
funny.
was a trickster trick. It
Yeah,
was a trick sword. Come on.
duh. So then Dean asks him to help them take down Lucifer. But it leads into this whole conversation. Gabriel's like, "No way, I can't kill my brother." And Dean's like, "Can't or won't." And he's just silent. And he's like, "No, I can't do it." And he's like, "Okay, bye." So Dean goes back inside and spills the beans. He straight up tells Kali and Balder and Sam that the angel sword was a fake and Gabriel is still alive. He's like, "You have been played." So then up at the front desk, Mercury is greeting someone, and it's Lucifer. And apparently, Mercury called Lucifer because he was like, "Everything that they're talking about in there is just insane." And I'm so glad you're here, which is really weird.
Yeah. What was going on there?
I don't know. Was he just like, oh, I didn't know we were going to kill Lucifer. That's crazy talk. I'm out. But then why would he call him?
Yeah. I don't know. That
And
didn't
also,
make
why didn't
any
he know that was the
sense.
plan to begin with?
He should have. I mean, if I don't know, if Kali is like directing him to, like do all of this, I mean,
Right.
she
Like,
would
what
have let him
exactly are
in
they?
on that.
Yeah. Like, what exactly are they getting ready for? What is this conference even for if not to kill Lucifer?
Yeah. I mean, I guess are we supposed to believe for some reason that because in the beginning the plan was to actually have Sam and Dean's bodies so that so that the
Yeah,
vessels
that's
could take
true.
over, right?
No, I think it was so that they could bargain with the angels to make it stop or something.
I see. Okay.
But
So
yeah, you're
yeah, I
right.
don't
That
know.
was
I
the
wonder
original
if there's
plan.
like a deleted scene or something where it's like we have more info on that because otherwise it does not make much sense.
As to why Mercury would call Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, it kind of comes
because
out
if
of
it
nowhere.
it
And he's such a traitor.
yeah, for real though. I
um,
don't know.
yeah. So let me see. So I mean, this should have been predictable to Mercury too, but oh well. He calls Lucifer and Lucifer's like, "Oh, thank you so much." But also, he starts like insulting him. He's like, "I'll never understand you pagans. You just argue amongst each other and rat each other out and then he breaks his neck with his powers and kills Mercury. And
Yeah,
then,
so that didn't work out.
yeah,
Stupid
no,
Mercury.
that was real dumb. So then, obviously, Lucifer just goes walking through the hotel and starts killing all of the gods that he meets. And it's a slaughter. He's
Hmm.
like walking down the hall, just like shoving his fist through them, breaking their necks, just
Hmm.
pulling them apart into pieces. And they're just like littered down the hallway, and there's blood everywhere. And it's crazy.
Yeah, it does make their like original plan of overtaking Lucifer just seem stupid.
Yes.
Like, and isn't it
Like,
interesting
really?
that like Lucifer is an archangel? He's not a god, but he's able to overpower them.
Right.
And even in this body, in this like because I don't know if you mentioned, but like his skin is like coming off. It's
Right.
like
He's
I don't
still
even
Nick,
know.
and he can't hold him. He's still not in his
Yeah.
vessel.
So you would think that he's like weaker in some way.
Mm-hmm. And that also, I mean, how does he have more power than Gabriel? Or does he? It kind of seems that way, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. Um well, I mean, I could see that because it made it seem as if Gabriel's like the little brother, right?
Yeah.
Lucifer is older. So I could see that. But like the fact that he's stronger than the gods, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. So then Lucifer makes his way to the end and he gets to Kali and Balder and Sam and Dean. And I just love this actor so much. I'll always love him. He shows up and he's like, Sam, Dean, nice to see you. He's just like real chill while his like skin is peeling off and he's covered in blood.
Yeah.
Um, and then Balder gets pissed off and goes up to him and tries to fight him. But as soon as Balder gets to him, he runs his entire arm through Balder's body and pulls
Yeah,
out.
like nothing.
Yeah, pulls it out. It's so disgusting. And so he's dead. Then Kali does this sweet fire trick, and her like arms and hands catch on fire, and she shoots fire at Lucifer and tries to burn him, but it doesn't do anything. Sam and Dean are hiding behind a table, and suddenly Gabriel shows up next to them and he's like, "Hey guys, better late than never." Sorry. And then he gives Dean something and he says, "Guard this with your life." And we're like, "Okay, what is that?" Looks like a DVD case. That's weird. Um, so then Gabriel gets between Cully and Lucifer, and he's like, "Boys, take her away." And so Sam and Dean get up and grab Cully and run out of the room. And then Gabriel and Lucifer start talking to each other, and Lucifer's like, "Don't do this." And he's like, "I have to. The truth is that Dad loved you best." And he says, "But then he brought the baby home and you couldn't handle it. So this is all a temper tantrum." So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What baby is he talking about?
I don't know.
Does he mean Jesus?
He, but he didn't. Well, he didn't bring like the baby home. What?
I'm confused. And I will admit I do not know all about Christianity because I was not raised in the church, but I know like a lot because it's just around.
I know there's a Jesus, right?
I
Like,
know about Jesus. Um and so I don't get it. Like
wha-
Gabriel's saying that God brought the baby home and Lucifer got mad, and so this is now a temper tantrum. So who is he talking about? Anyway,
yeah, that's a great question because I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't
I
know
don't
either.
know.
Okay, that makes me feel better because I was like, this is probably really dumb.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
You're fine.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Um
Please tell us.
Anybody. Um okay. So outside, Sam and Dean take Collie and they're running to the Impala, and she's like, "I'm not getting in that thing." And they're like, "Get in." So she gets in and they drive away and save her. And then we cut back to Gabriel and Lucifer says that he's disloyal. And Gabriel says, "Oh no, I'm loyal, but I'm loyal to people because Dad was right. They're better than us." And then he says, "And you should see the spearmint rhino." And I was like, I have no fucking idea what that is. And I looked it up, and it's a gentleman's club in Las Vegas. So,
Yeah. I don't know why I knew what that was, but it was
well, I guess it's a big deal. People must have known what that was, but it was lost
well,
on
I
me.
wonder there's spearmint rhinos in Los Angeles. So I've probably seen the
Oh,
sign
it's a
as well.
chain.
It's a chain, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So weird, a chain strip club.
Yeah. So then Gabriel says that he's not on Lucifer's side or Michael's side. He's on their side. And then we see Gabriel pulling the classic Loki move, by the way, and making himself appear also behind Lucifer. And Lucifer's
Yeah.
like, "Isn't that so classic? They did that in Marvel too." And so then Gabriel's about to stab Lucifer, but Lucifer's like, "I know where your heart really lies." And at the last second, he turns around and grabs the angel blade and stabs Gabriel with it instead. And he
Yep,
looks
and we know it's
genuinely upset. Yes.
the real
Yeah,
one
we
this
know it's
time.
the real one. And he looks really upset. Like Lucifer looks like he might cry.
Yeah, he's sad about it. I mean, that's his brother,
Yeah.
and he actually cares, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really upset.
Can I just
So,
share this really
please.
quickly? I looked at the Spearmint Rhino Gentlemen's Club, and I've There's a Google review that says, "Great club, but I'm still upset from being ignored by the dancer I wanted a lap dance from." And then, edit, I forgot to update this. She made up for it the next time I went. Great club.
Ew.
I know.
What does that mean?
I,
Also, I'm
I
sorry
don't
about
know.
your poor little bruised man ego. Like,
Yeah, like,
man, she didn't pay attention to me. Although I guess it is sort of, I don't know, I'm gonna go off about it. I guess it is sort of like an establishment made to make men feel better about themselves and like they're not ignored, but whatever.
that's basically
Um
what it is. Yeah. Which, I
Also,
don't
if
know how
like
I feel
you're a
about that.
dancer or anything, like more power to you. I really don't have a problem with that. I just have a problem with like men who have like easily bruised egos.
Yeah, who
Um
are like expecting something.
right.
I don't know.
Right. Get over yourself.
Ugh.
Um That's ridiculous. So that's where it ends. We cut to the Casa Erotica intro.
Oh my God. I loved this so much.
It was fucking hilarious. There's this blonde girl in lingerie and high heels on her bed writing in her diary. And what does she say? She's like, "It's true. Being the CEO of a big business company is so hard."
Which is great. I love that.
It's so awesome. It
That she's
reminds
a
me of,
CEO.
yeah, it reminds me of like that awful movie, The Room, where the woman at the end, she's like, "You're right, mom. The computer business is too hard." And it's like, the computer business. So funny. And so then Gabriel opens up the door and he's in a mustache and has like a platter and he's like, "I have the, what did he call it? I don't have the line here, but it was like the Wiener Schnitzel
Let
or
me
something that you ordered."
see. Oh, I've got the kielbasa you ordered.
Kielbasa.
She's like, ooh, Polish? And he's like, Hungarian.
Gross.
Oh my God.
And then he like throws the platter and goes over to her and they start making out. And then we see Sam and
Yeah.
Dean are watching it on their laptop on the Impala and they're both like, "Oh God."
Yeah, because like they start moaning, I think, or like it's very clear that stuff is happening.
Yes. And they're like, "Oh God, why are we watching this?" So then suddenly Gabriel turns to the camera and he says, "Hey guys, if you're watching this, that means I'm dead." And he says that without him, sorry, but they have zero chance of killing Lucifer. But they can trap him. So he tells them that the cage that Lucifer was in is still downstairs, and they have to get the cage open and trick Lucifer into getting back into it. And also avoid Michael and everybody the whole time, but you know, those are details. Um, and that
Mhm.
Lucifer doesn't know that the key to the cage is actually four keys. And actually, those keys are rings. So those are the four rings from the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So if they can get all four rings, then they have the keys to open that cage. And he also tells Dean that he was right. He was afraid to stand up to his brother, but not anymore. And then
Aw.
he goes back to making out with the girl. So, um, and so they close the laptop because things are getting hot and heavy, and it's weird.
Yeah.
So they talk about it, and they realize that they already have the rings from war and famine, so they only need two more from pestilence and death. And they get in the Impala
Yeah.
and drive off. So this is fascinating.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of a bummer. I don't really know what Gabriel means about not being able to kill him without him. I'm not sure why like he's the key to killing Lucifer. But
Mhm.
I mean, if they can trap him, then okay, you know, that's not a bad alternative. So, and they're already halfway there. Um,
Yeah, I wonder if it's because I don't know, like only Michael can kill Lucifer, right? And they're like both archangels, they're both their brothers. Maybe that's the sort of thing, like only an archangel can kill another archangel or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, he was just gonna try and kill him with the angel sword, and so
mhm.
you know, Sam and Dean can do that. If they get their hands on one. Doesn't seem any different.
No.
So I don't, yeah, I don't know what he meant by that. But I personally really liked this turn of events. It was like, oh wow, you know, like we were introduced to the four horsemen very early on in the season, and we at the time I think we just thought the four horsemen were just a sign of the apocalypse coming and that's it, right?
Mhm.
And of course we're seeing these rings being collected along, but now there's actual significance to it, and I thought it was a really smart and like tricky way for the show runners to like, you know, have it have meaning now
Yeah,
and
it was
have
the
this
kind
be
of
the
thing.
solution.
Totally. It was the kind of thing that I wanted to have happen with the cult.
Yeah, yeah, before, right?
Yes, it's
With
like, okay,
everything.
we've had this cool thing the whole time, and now it actually has more meaning, but it
Hmm.
was just the way they ended up using it was just lame.
Yeah, it didn't really, it can't really do much. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean,
It was
I guess
disappointing.
it's cool. It kills, you know, I don't know.
Well, and
It
then it was
kills
being used as
demons.
like that key to the portal or whatever. Um, but it was kind of a shaky way that they had to use it. It just didn't make as
Was
much
it
sense. Like
was
this is much easier.
Yeah, it was a bad execution, I think. And also like it didn't really make much sense anyway because the portal to hell, like the actual gates to hell is something that just seems very old, you know? So like something ancient should be the key, not a pistol that was created and built in the 1800s.
Totally. Completely agree. So,
But
yeah, this works
this works
better.
for me. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Um, so then we cut to the final scene. We see a car pulling up at a gas station on the side of the road, and the man who's behind the counter inside is reading the newspaper. So this is the part that's like so like triggering and ridiculous for what's happening right
Hmm.
now. But the newspaper says, and the headline is Surgeon General says, quote, stay home. And the subtitle is something like
Yeah.
influenza spreads and a vaccine is um, like hard to come by or something. It's like there's not enough of the vaccine.
Insane.
So I know.
I think it was especially the stay home thing that like really made me go like, "Whoa. Is
What the
this
fuck?
yeah, was this like telling the future or something?"
Right. So then the man who drove up to the gas station comes inside and he looks like shit. He looks very sick. He is sniffling and coughing and sneezing all over the place. And when he sneezes, he blows out like all this snot and spit all over everything. And then he's like wiping his hands all over everything in the gas station and he's leaving behind this goo. And it's fucking disgusting. And these flies followed him inside and there's flies all over. Ugh.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
it's disgusting.
that's disgusting. He goes over to like the flu medications and picks one up in an orange box and he's like, does this make you drowsy? And the guy behind the counter's like, No, the blue ones are for nighttime and the orange ones are for daytime. And so then he goes over to pay for them and sneezes on the guy behind the counter on his fucking face. And I wanted to throw up.
Because and this is again a moment where it's not just disgusting and like, you know, like, eh, I don't
It
know.
was another over the top moment.
It was another over the top moment.
Yeah.
And I can imagine like it was written out just normally and it was a directing choice to have him literally like spray this man with like just mucus,
Like
just
yellow
covered.
mucus. Yes.
Yeah, but then the guy, because obviously like a normal reaction to this would be like, you know, like
Right, like
just what the
screaming
hell
and then throwing up.
just happened? Yes. But
Right.
instead, this guy is like, do you need a tissue? Or like, what does he say? I don't know. He's just
Something
like
like that.
totally fine.
Yeah. Disgusting. So, yeah, it's fucking nasty. And then he purchases the pills and walks outside the store, and he's just got this big old smile on his face. He looks really satisfied with himself. And he gets in the car and tosses the pills on the passenger seat, and he pulls out and drives away. And as he's driving down the highway, more flies start showing up in the car. And then he's suddenly just in this cloud of flies, and you can barely even see him in the car. And then it cuts.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I liked that effect. It was a neat
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, it was definitely very effective.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So great. I guess that's what we're going to be dealing with in the next episode.
Yeah.
Fuck.
We'll see how we deal with that.
I'm glad you're doing it. I won't watch it in depth. You can have it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll skip
Sorry.
over the details.
Okay, and this is another gross part. So, this is another gross part. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely insane. But I mean, overall though, I really love this episode. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, I loved
And
it.
it was just like one of those moments again, like where it was like, oh God, like yes, like I love this. I love that they're building even more upon the lore, you know, and everything going on, the plot,
Mhm.
everything in the show. So
Mhm. Yeah, it
it
really
was
kind of beefs all of that up even more.
mhm.
Yeah, man. We didn't have any sons of bitches or
Nope,
tears for the record. Um,
nope, nope, no.
I haven't looked at ranking. I'm looking at it right now. Do you have any thoughts so far?
No, let me open it up. Um,
Well, I'm kind of
I don't
feeling
know.
like, let me see, kind of high up, maybe.
Yeah, I'm feeling high up. I kind of feel like I should let you throw out a number.
Okay.
Um,
I'm kind of feeling like somewhere around 15.
which right now is Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. Um,
And then
which we
16 is
just
the
saw
real,
recently.
yeah, the real Ghostbusters. Crossroad Blues is 17. 18 is Fresh Blood. Um, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like either side of 15, like anywhere from like 13 to 17.
Interesting. Okay.
What do you think?
I think it's interesting. I would have probably said like around 10.
Ooh, that high?
I think so. And 10 is I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, I was originally looking at that thinking like 10 to 15, but then I was looking
Mhm.
at like, I don't know, maybe the kind of campier parts of it landed somewhere like closer to 17. But anywhere from
Yeah.
10 to 15, I'm still kind of feeling that too.
Yeah, cuz for me I don't know, like it's definitely not, even though it's a favorite of mine, and that's why I wanted you to throw out the number cuz I'm biased. It isn't like the best episode. It's just, I think it's just a very quintessential season 5 episode. It's exciting, it's different. Um Even the directing, even though like there were some issues with it because it was so over the top in some areas,
hmm
um it was very bright and just very entertaining to look at. And I don't know, so that doesn't make it like a better episode though. It's just,
No,
I
yeah,
think
it was
that's
really
why
well
it's kind of
done.
hard for me to judge.
That's fair.
um
It was a beautiful kind of episode. We didn't really talk about that, but it was I feel like the directing was really good and the cinematography, like the look of the whole thing was really well done.
mhm.
And I kind of for some reason like feel like this one is similar to Dream a Little Dream of Me in that it's again like brightly colored and like well directed and like has that same kind of feel for me.
Mhm.
And that one's at 12. And I Know What You Did Last Summer is the one about Sam. I don't think I like it better than that one.
Then which one? I'm sorry.
Than number
I
10.
Know What You Did Last
hmm
Summer. Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't think it's in the top 10
Um,
for me.
right. I agree with that. Like, even though it's like one of my favorites, it's not for me a better episode than I Know What You Did Last Summer.
hmm I would be down for it being either 11 or 12. I could do that.
I think it's better than No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I really didn't like any of the stuff leading up to it, to the end of that episode.
Yeah.
So, season 5, episode 19, Hammer of the Gods, is going in as the new number 11, and this one is going in the trunk. Do it one more time. Okay, good. Really get it in there.
I got a little ahead of myself. Oh my god.
That was funny. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Oh man, we're so close to the
I
end.
know. I know, man.
Um, let's see. So the next episode we'll be talking about is I know you want to hear that noise. The Devil You Know. Dun dun dun. Ooh. Okay. Okay. I'm not excited about Pestilence, but I'm excited about a returning character that we'll
Ew.
get to see.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to watch it tonight.
Yay. Yeah. Um so yeah, very cool. Let's see what happens. I'm excited about this trap, this cage situation.
I know. I don't know what they're going to do there. It's going to be hard to pull off, but got to go for something. At least it's a plan.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about that one next time. And Forgive me, everybody. I don't really feel like going down the list of everywhere you can find us, but I will direct you to our blog, www.highwaytohell podcast. Wait, it's just highwaytohell.com or podcast?
Podcast. Highway to Hell podcast.com. Yep.
.com.
We got lots of stuff there.
And highway is HWY. Yeah, we've got everything there. We've got the episodes, links to all of our other stuff, and you know where to find us. And keep sending us emails, sending us voicemails. We'll do some more mailbag mini-sodes soon. And we really appreciate you continuing to listen and support us, even though we've been kind of all over the place with our schedule. Because COVID-19 is stressful and we have like a lot going on. So we really appreciate
thank you
your
guys.
support.
You guys have been awesome.
Yes, very. And until next time, we'll see you on the highway to hell. Bye.
Bye.